this episode of Costa Rica Real Talk, we're talking with Rachel Candib about the perks of like country lifestyle, the beauty of Ciudad Colón, and development in the area. How are you doing, Rachel?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing great as well. It's nice to finally have you in the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So, well, we want to make the most out of your expertise, start talking about like country lifestyle in Costa Rica. Because when people come to Costa Rica or perhaps think about like what Costa Rica's life is about, usually perhaps they see more like a beach environment or like the kind of like ads done by like the National Institute of Tourism that are very like idealized version of the tropical jungle. But there are like a wide range of like possible lifestyles you can have here in Costa Rica. In terms of like country lifestyle itself, how do we understand like country lifestyle? What are the kind of like people that look for this kind of that like the middle ground between like the full like off the grid life with like, some like conveniences as well?
I think that there's a lot of areas in Costa Rica that are countryside, the majority of the country actually. And there's a different type of lifestyle that you live when you live in the country. For me personally, I sought after more space to have because I have horses and I have 4 children. And so mainly for the horses and the environment that horses bring into my life. So what I find is when I moved to Ciudad Colón, which is a country suburb of San Jose, it's a big horse country. So there's a lot of different barns and environments, a lot of trails that you can ride in, and the town really caters to it being like an authentic Costa Rican town. So country lifestyle is really nice there because you don't have to live off-grid. You don't have to live on these massive pieces of land, but you can have the country lifestyle and feel, but still be 20 minutes to Escazú on the highway, still be close enough to private schools for education for the children, and close enough to get on the highway to go down to the beach. So country lifestyle here is really nice, especially in Ciudad Colón, because if you, let's say you don't have horses, but you like to live in the countryside, you have mountain biking, you have hiking trails, you have so many different other options of ways to enjoy the countryside. And because it's also mountainous, you have a lot of hiking, which we have like a group that lives in Ciudad Colón and it's established in Ciudad Colón. And they do hiking on full moons, they do hiking on Saturdays, hiking on Sundays. And so you really become an active part of the community as well. As far as mountain biking, that's another huge thing that everyone from the city comes out to Ciudad Colón on the weekends to enjoy the countryside on their mountain bike. And because of the amount of trails and roads and lastre roads, which we're seeing less and less of because everything's being paved, you can really still find in Ciudad Colón. So it's a really great blend for anybody that likes the country living. If you like to have chickens and you like to have horses and you like to have a big garden, it's a perfect place to be because there's a lot of land that is catered to big lots. So anywhere from like a quarter of an acre up, you can also find several hectareas at really affordable pricing. And the weather is perfect. We have 3 different rivers that run through Ciudad Colón. People go swimming in them on the weekends. It's just a really great lifestyle.
And now that you mention it, like the country lifestyle itself, as you mentioned, is like integral part of Costa Rica throughout history. That's the really like the authentic lifestyle people. Like the beach communities and everything came afterwards, like particularly like in the 70s with surfers. But the kind of lifestyle people usually like idolize of Costa Rica is like the old like countryside, like the agricultural side of it as well. Also like the big ranch lifestyle in the Blue Zone, like in Guanacaste. Like the amalgamation of like the outdoors experience with also like the routines of life. So I wanted to ask you about like how you feel like despite being like so close by to like the city in Ciudad Colón, how does like the setting itself change the way of your like daily routine in the countryside?
Well, the nice thing about Ciudad Colón is, like I mentioned before, is a very authentic Costa Rican town. We don't have any big food chains. All the little restaurants are locally owned by people that live in the community, give back to the community, are part of the community. So you can be in the grocery store and you're standing next to the owner of Conservatorium or Bistro 22 or Chet Pizza, and we all live in the same community and have the same goals to be very community organized. So it's really nice. And then especially with having like the farmers market there on Saturdays, and then we have another farmers market on Tuesdays. We also have an artisan fair on Fridays for the local artists. It really allows for a lot of authentic interaction with people that are foreigners and Costa Ricans, but the foreigners that are there are the ones that are really looking to blend into the community, not just be in a group of foreigners where they don't speak the language or know the culture. They really blend in with the Costa Ricans, and it's a really nice blend of authenticity and foreign investment. And so for Ciudad Colón, that's a great attribute because you get the real Costa Rica of how it used to be probably 20, 30 years ago in Escazú or Belen or those other towns. It still really has that feel to it. And I think it hasn't been exploited a lot because there's only one way in and one way out pretty much. And so it's a little bit off the beaten path, but you're so close to the city. So it allows you to be in Escazú in 20 minutes.
Yeah, and that's also like an interesting aspect of like the countryside development, because as you mentioned, like usually the people that go to seek out this kind of lifestyle, their vision of development is not really looking to savor like the essence of the setting itself. As you mentioned, like we went there to create some content a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And one of the the discoveries for me was seeing like this the focus on keeping like the cattle around, of like keeping like the mountain bike trails, of the authentic ranch experience is still almost like part of the identity of the setting in Ciudad Colón, and also when you go to different like countryside like experiences in Costa Rica. In a way, it's like a bridge, if you will, between like old lifestyle that so many people like cherish here with these new people, like the growth of the country itself, like when new people coming and looking for this kind of experience.
And I also think that the weather is amazing because you get really great weather in Ciudad Colón. You don't have the humidity that you would have at the beaches. So for me personally, I love the weather, and at night it's super cool, always sunny except in rainy season. And I think that having all those lastre roads everywhere, it leads to a slower pace of life. Mm-hmm. So for example, in the afternoons there, we go out and we mountain bike, and my daughter rides her horse, and we go around our neighborhood, and we don't have to hit one paved road. And that's something that's like really unique that you don't find in a lot of places so close to the city anymore. And it is a super active town, so you have all the amenities you need. Really high-end restaurants, farmers market, like I mentioned before, and a great city park. So the park in the middle of the town actually is beautiful. They have sculptures, they have events all the time. We do movie nights on Friday nights where the families can come and they put a big projector up. So it really has like this family environment, and that makes it really nice too.
I wanted to double on that because, you raise your kids in this kind of lifestyle. You briefly mentioned about the communal part of it, like being able to ride your bike to different places, of like walking, of like the fact that there's like not these like big developments or like these big like tower developments that are fine in the city, but here like it's like everything, despite being more spread out with lots being bigger and everything, there's like, it feels like there's like this communal feel of people knowing each other, like more how it used to be, like the kind of lifestyle before, right?
Absolutely. It's like stepping back in time. It really is. And it's really nice. And I think that Costa Rica has really expanded and developed a lot in really good ways. And I love that you can still tap into places like this, and you don't have to be an hour away from the city or 2 hours away from the city. You're really, really centrally located and very close. And to me, I think that is one of the biggest attributes of Ciudad Colón, because you can have this lifestyle, but, still go to entertainment such as movies, or go to a high-end restaurant for dinner, or go to the theater, hop on the highway and be at the beach in an hour and a half. So I think that it's a really special gem because of the location of where it is, because it is so centrally located, but you're not that far out, but you feel like you are once you get there.
And how does that, the setting itself, do you think it also changes your way of relating to nature, of like seeing also like how your kids were like brought up like how they see like the environmental perhaps like consciousness and
Yes, I definitely think so. I think that, walking in the town on the weekends and going to the farmer's market, and then also, coming home after the farmer's market on the weekends and going out hiking and going down to the river. I mean, that's how my kids grew up. They grew up hiking and going out on the mountain bike and going to the river. But as you know, when you have teenagers, they want to go, to Multiplaza in the afternoon and go be with their friends. So it was a really nice balance for kids. And what I noticed also was the children that were their friends that were raised in the metropolitan area, more condensed and in condominiums and things like that. Whenever they would come to our house, it was just like, wow, this is so amazing. It's so natural. It's like being in a movie because we have monkeys, we have deer, we have foxes, we have all the sloths, we have like all the wildlife. They've just reintroduced the red macaws, so those fly over our house. So you really get the wild part of Costa Rica that I had at the beach also when I lived there. But we're in Ciudad Colón. So like last night we went running and there was a pisote and its baby and it ran across the street right in front of us. And it's just so beautiful because you have all the wildlife as well too. And so when your kids grow up with that, it really makes them appreciate the nature and how to protect it. Our town is very organized with recycling. We have a recycling center right in town, and it's very proactive with all of that. So when your child is raised in that kind of an environment, they have more of a respect to maintain that and to keep it and to protect it as they get older as well.
And in the last couple of years, perhaps, going also what happened during the pandemic, there seems to be like a trend towards this kind of like more authentic lifestyle. Well, naturally, like the beach communities and like the jungle retreats and everything have always been like an integral part of Costa Rica. But this again, like more like the balance between not only being like an expat community, like this cluster of people from the outside, but also like engaging with the local community, because Ciudad Colón again is like, I don't know how would you describe it, like demographically, like the division, but it seems to be like keep that local authenticity. Like people from the Central Valley go there in like a weekend trip. They go to Amphitheatro La Villa. They go to like do mountain biking. So it keeps like the local essence alive as well. Would you say that?
Yes, absolutely. That's one of the biggest things about Ciudad Colón is that it's a huge tourist spot for locals more than it is for foreigners. We do have the amphitheater of Ciudad Colón. In the Rodeo, which we have the University of Peace. They have a beautiful hiking trails through there and lots of lakes and different areas that you can go and picnic on the weekend. And the majority of people that go and use these facilities are Costa Rican and they are local. And so they escape the city to come there on the weekends. There's Hacienda El Rodeo where they have the authentic little restaurant, which is fabulous and has the bocas, and it's been there since the 1800s. I mean, you and I went there on our trip when we did the visit of Ciudad Colón areas. And that area, they've opened up a mountain bike park. And then also they have, it's like the main spot for mountain bikers in Costa Rica in the metropolitan area. And so on the weekends, it's packed. It's packed with people visiting, and they're all, I would say 80 to 20%, 80% being Costa Rican that come in. And so it's a really nice, you really feel like you're in Costa Rica. I mean, the authenticity is amazing, and it's a really beautiful blend.
And going with that idea, I also wanted to ask you about like taking the decision to go and live there. Like what perhaps like the main things that someone has to take into account when they go there in a weekend and like they just love everything about there? What perhaps like the first things they should like take into account?
Okay, so one of the things about Ciudad Colón is that it is kind of off the beaten path, right? So if you're going to move to Ciudad Colón, the beauty of Ciudad Colón is you can live in an independent home. It's a very safe community, and for many years it was the safest canton in all of Central America. So a lot of people have independent homes, which is very different than Santa Ana or Escazú or Belén, where you have these little closed communities behind a guard, in a condominium with rules and regulations and amenities. Ciudad Colón caters more to the independent living style. So if you are fine with living but without a guard and living on your own, it's a very safe community to have that, and that makes it very attractive. Now, if you have to commute every day and you have to go to downtown San Jose, it's probably not the ideal place to live because there can be heavy traffic coming in and out, and that can, kind of put a damper on things for you if you have to sit in traffic, because Ciudad Colón has become so popular over the last 15 years that I've been there. I've seen an increase of traffic coming in and out. But if you don't have to commute at rush hour traffics, it is the ideal place to live. So when people are looking to purchase there, that's one of the first things I say to them. Do you have to commute? If you do, okay, we'll have to put you closer to the exit of Ciudad Colón, closer towards, which is now Brazil, the Mora Santana, so that you're not sitting in a ton of traffic. So because of the popularity of the authenticity and the prices are much better in Ciudad Colón as well for land and homes compared to Santana and Escazú. The closer you get to the city, it has become a very popular destination. But if you do have to commute, it's something that I always tell people when they come to purchase, they need to take that into consideration and play it in mind.
And in terms of the kind of the developments perhaps, or not really like developments, or how's like perhaps like a very general overview of like at Ciudad Colón's and kind of like listing offerings?
So Ciudad Colón has a really great like span of listings. So you can buy something there as a first-time homeowner for $150,000 in a gated community with amenities, townhomes, right? 3 bedrooms. And actually, I think they've gone up now. The last ones that I was showing were at $180,000. So those are 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. You have a little yard. You have great amenities. You're behind a guard. The communities are full of parents. All the schools, buses come in there and pick up the kids in the morning and take them out. And then you go all the way up to, we have some listings in Ciudad Colón that are up to $6 million. So you have a very big span of pricing that you can fit into any budget. So it's really nice. And a lot of those homes, let's say the really high-end ones, for example, I have a couple that are $1 million plus, all the way up to the 6, and those are independent homes, which is really nice to see. So you have super, super high-end, and you have middle class. And so it's a really great distribution of wealth that goes into the community. And everyone lives super nice and side by side together, and that's a real beauty of Ciudad Colón.
And perhaps before we round up the podcast, I want to ask you about like the kind of like profile from what you've seen, like the people that moved to Ciudad Colón. Would you say like more like family focused kind of environment?
I don't think that there's a specific gender, not gender, a specific like age group or anything like that. I think it's very mixed. It's very blended. For example, the last few homes that I sold in there that were the higher end homes were all retired people that love Ciudad Colón for the authenticity of the town and the farmers market and how nice the people are. And then you get a lot of younger families that are moving there that can afford a nicer home and a bigger yard that they probably couldn't afford in other locations, and want the lifestyle of Ciudad Colón. So I think it's very blended. There's not really a demographic of retired or young couple. It's really well mixed.
And that also links to like the general, it seems to be like in terms of like the development of the Central Valley, how many people are like going to perhaps west and even further west, as you mentioned, in one instance, because there's like it's more affordable, but also because they can envision like a bigger lot, as you mentioned, perhaps a bigger house, and also like that middle ground, as you mentioned as well, with the coast. How usually is it for like to just like go on the car or even the bus and just like do like a weekend getaway to like Central Pacific?
Yeah, it's super easy, and the beauty of Ciudad Colón too is there's 2 routes. So for example, if you're just going to drop into Jaco, let's say, or go up to Guanacaste, you would zip out of Ciudad Colón, get on the 27 and head out. There's a beautiful new road that it's not new. It's an old road, but they have paved it and it's amazing. And you leave Ciudad Colón and you head up to Puriscal, and that road will take you down to Chiris, and it drops you right off outside of Parita. And it's actually faster to get to Manuel Antonio and Parita and Palo Seco and Quepos and Dominical going that road. There's only a small section of it that is not paved, but it's really well graded. And so when I go to the beach and I go to Manuel Antonio, Asturias, or Parita, or any of those areas, I take that road out of Ciudad Colón. So it's really nice, especially when you're coming back from the beaches on heavy weekends and people are sitting in traffic. For example, I did it 2 weekends ago with a girlfriend. I said, follow us. She's like, no, I'm going to go the 27. It's so much faster. She got home 2 hours after us, and we came up the Puriscal mountain and dropped right into Ciudad Colón. So that access and the government putting the money into the infrastructure on that road has really helped so much, opening up different areas for us to like travel on the weekends and get there fast and get home faster.
Yeah, and actually, now that you mentioned it, like the development of this road, also like the link with Puriscal, which in and of itself is like a very scenic kind of like.
Beautiful. You drive by the Carrara National Forest, and it's absolutely amazing. I mean, the wildlife you see and the sunsets and the mountain views it's just breathtaking. It makes you feel like Costa Rica for me 30 years ago. So it's amazing. It's like when I first came to Costa Rica, I did that road by accident. And it took us a long time, but I remember it being one of the reasons why I fell in love with Costa Rica, because the scenery is amazing and beautiful, and it's just, you take your time, but you get there faster.
And to round the podcast, I wanted to ask you about what are your favorite things in your daily routine that make you think like, yeah, I took the right decision, like living here, like embracing this kind of lifestyle?
Oh, when I get up in the morning and I just wake up and drink my coffee and look outside my window and I'm making my coffee, I just feel like the luckiest person in the world. It's so beautiful. The trees, Ciudad Colón, I think, is one of the towns in this country that has some of the oldest preserved trees all over the place. So we have, like, especially on summer when I go running through the streets in Ciudad Colón, because I love to run and hike, and you see the Cortes Amarillo, you see the Lluvia de Oro, you see the Malinche, you see the Roble Sabana. It's just so breathtaking and so amazing. And the ceibas that are there with the oropendulinas hanging from there. I think that when I do my morning runs and I see all these trees and the nature around me and the macaws flying over and the monkeys in the trees, I feel like I'm in heaven, and it's just amazing. And that's a highlight of why I live in Ciudad Colón.
Those are some great closing words. Thank you so much, Rachel, for...
Thank you. Come visit again.
Yeah, I'll definitely. Well, with this speech, I'm forced to, basically.
Yeah, it's a nice place.
If you like our conversation, you can follow us on social media and Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at Costa Rica Real Estate. And you can also listen to our whole backlog of podcasts, our previous 16 episodes at your favorite streaming platform, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whichever you like, or Podcast Repository, where you can listen and learn about all things Costa Rica and real estate.